Hi, I'm Jim Walsh, State Representative from Ledge District 19 in Southwest Washington along the coast. Yesterday we debated a critical bill going forward for the state of Washington on the presidential primary. Now that's separate of other primaries and other elections. Our presidential primary in this state is a separate election that we have each 4 years. The focus of yesterday's debate was on a couple of points. One, moving the presidential primary earlier in the presidential election cycle, which is something everybody agrees on, both sides of the aisle and really both chambers of the House. And then, who gets to vote in that presidential primary? And this was the point of debate and contention. On our side, we believe everyone should be able to vote in the presidential primary. Republicans, Democrats, independents, unaffiliated, minor parties, everyone should get to vote in that presidential primary. The other side believes only people who are willing to call themselves Republicans or Democrats should be allowed to vote in the presidential primary. The debate got intense, and we feel strongly that this policy of restricting access to the presidential primary, really disenfranchising lots of Washington voters, is the wrong way to go. And we held close to that argument throughout the debate yesterday. This bill is deeply flawed. This bill serves the interests of the political parties, not the interest of the voters of this state.
This state, from its very beginning, if you read our history, from 1889 forward, we have always been a very populist state. We have a weak form of an executive government with the number of statewide offices we hold. We've always taken the side of the voters. We have a strong initiative process. And all this amendment simply does is say you don't have to declare whether you're Republican or Democrat.
I think if we look at the last two elections in particular, we probably saw more voters that turned out, I'll say across the board, where they by their own admission, voters would say, I'm not typically X or Y, but I'm getting involved in this election. Those are the voters that we are absolutely going to eliminate if this bill passes, for all of our sakes. And for more importantly, the voters of this state. We cannot afford to shut their voice off. I urge a no vote.
I'm quite proud to be a citizen and resident of the great state of Washington, and our namesake individual, Mr. George Washington, the first president of our United States, would be very concerned by this bill because he was opposed to partisanship. And he saw and spoke very eloquently in his farewell address about the dangers of political parties and the jealousies that they could create among groups and the distractions that they could create for government. And while we can all agree on certain tenets of this bill, namely that we move the presidential primary forward so that the voters of Washington State can have a louder voice, the issue I have with this bill and the reason I'll be voting no is because we want to elevate the voters above our parties. We want to elevate the individual above groups that some people are not a part of. So I strongly urge a no vote on this bill and hope that we can get back together on a future measure and get everyone on the same page with moving the primary forward.